do not necessarily reflect those of station staff, management, and advertisers.
All right, what's up, everybody? Happy Friday. It is Pushing the Limits. Obviously, a lot of breaking news, a lot to get to, a lot to talk about. On the YouTube Super Chat, of course, at PTL Radio Show on the ever-so-popular growing YouTube channel, pushingthelimits.live, and, of course, the Really American Network. So I want to get right into this. We have some special guests. I'll get to my first guest here in a moment. Ryan Shedd's going to be joining us here in a minute. Also, at the bottom of the hour, Destiny's going to be joining us. So I've been saying for days now that I've been able to collect myself a little bit, it's been an emotional week. But I have been saying all week that the right, all they keep doing is blaming the left for this Charlie Kirk assassination. Donald Trump, it's the radical left, right? Well, and I'm happy to announce that the shooter is in custody, the real shooter. Don't listen to what Kash Patel has to say because we know he's screwed up a 1,000 times in the last week. The guy's name is Tyler Robinson. He's not black. He's not transgender. He's not an undocumented immigrant. And he's not a registered Democrat. He comes from a Mormon family. He's a straight 22-year-old white male from a Mormon family that was obsessed with their guns. Now, even though on his voting record, it shows that he was not affiliated with either party, he comes from a staunch conservative Mormon family. Again, that was obsessed with guns. Not a trans person, not a gay person, not a black person or a minority. But yet Republicans are still blaming the left. Obviously, this is a deranged individual who did dress up Halloween in a Donald Trump costume. Take that for what you will. And there is no indication that he was a radical leftist. So all of you MAGA Republicans out there can go to hell. With that being said, I wanted to get that off my chest to start the show. My good friend joining me on the show right now, very popular left-leaning podcaster. I know he's probably just as angry as I am. He is Ryan Shedd. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, brother. That response made me feel good. I feel your anger, as I feel we should all be right now, because we have Nancy Mace on Twitter literally right now praying for this guy. Like you said, these MAGA folks, they have no shame. They have no low. Nancy Mace said, "We know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same."
By the way,
right off of her page.
She said the other day, the day of the shooting, that the person who is responsible for this should get the death penalty. And now all of a sudden she finds out it's not a transgender, that it's a 22-year-old straight white male. Now we should pray for him. No, guess what? I'm not praying for him. I'm not praying for Charlie Kirk. I feel the same about his family and friends. And I want to get this off my chest too, Ryan. Okay, this is bad for America. I stand by everything that I've said. Charlie Kirk did not deserve this. But Charlie Kirk doesn't deserve a Medal of Freedom. Charlie Kirk doesn't deserve his body to be flown in Air Force Two. Charlie Kirk was a despicable human being. He was a racist. He was a bigot. He divided people. He made money off of his hatred, and he was a misogynist. I am not going to sit here and praise Charlie Kirk. Now, some people are taking it the extra mile, which I refuse to do. I'm not going to call him a Nazi. And obviously, he did not deserve this. But I am not going to sit here and praise what was a despicable human being. And this wasn't just about different political views. He made racist, misogynist comments almost on a daily basis. And he said you shouldn't have empathy. So why should I have empathy for him?
Well, you shouldn't. And again, I think there's a big difference between celebrating what happened, which I don't see a lot of people on my side do. I mean, some. But I'm not celebrating what happened because I truly, I'm with you on that. I sincerely believe this is bad for America. You know, this is either going to be a tipping point, which is what I feel like the right wants or wanted, or it's going to be a call to action that makes us all go, guns affect us all. And it just took somebody on their side, you know, whatever the shooter's, you know, reasons are, whatever, hopefully we'll find out. But it's definitely not going with their agenda. And I'm with you. I've kept it about the kids, you know, as a father myself. I can't imagine my kids having to grow up without me. And on top of that, it's reported that his kids were there.
Yeah.
So knowing that they may have actually witnessed something that horrific, I don't think anybody with a soul is celebrating that.
Yeah, and listen, Ryan, I spoke to Parker and some other friends of mine that were actually there.
I saw Parker's video. Yeah.
Yeah, I spoke to Parker on the phone, and I spoke to him late last night because he was considering coming on the show today. But I'm like, we were texting each other, and I'm like, dude, just take some time. He's, and rightfully so, to see somebody get murdered right in front of you. It's not just about Charlie Kirk and his family and friends. All the people that were there that day will always be traumatized from what they saw. Just watching that video, traumatized.
We're all traumatized.
Yeah,
just from the video. Like I said, and everybody, if you did see that video, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up, and it really is just horrifying to watch. Imagine being there in person. And I give Parker credit. I think his video and him showing his emotional side and making it human.
Yeah.
I applaud him for that, because he could have gone a different route.
Right.
And I think he used his platform the right way in this situation. And like you said, at the end of the day, Parker has been face to face with Charlie Kirk on a few occasions doing debates and whatnot. So he knew him. He had a personal connection to him in some way. Yeah. So it's not really surprising to me to see him, affected in that way, because at the end of the day, look, all of us creators, if you didn't take a step back and go, that could be me.
Oh, no question. I agree with Ryan. I agree with everything you just said about Parker. And I watched that video as well. Parker's a good dude.
Yeah.
I've said that before, and I'll say again, he's a really smart young man, and he has decency. And I appreciate that. But I knew that about him, just by talking to him and getting to know him.
Yeah.
But here's what's so, I'm not going to use the term amazing, but it's so ironic to me that all week long, all Trump supporters and MAGA supporters and people in D.C. have been doing is blaming the left for this shooting.
Yep.
And so much silence today. It's interesting, Ryan. They're not talking about white on white crime today. They're not talking about Republican. And I know this kid wasn't a registered Republican, but certainly his family was full of conservative Mormon people that were obsessed with, that were obsessed with their guns. Okay. This was the opposite of a Democrat. Now, I know there's people online that are saying, oh, he was Antifa. He was Antifa. There is no indication that this was a Democrat in any way, shape, or form. There's also no indication that it was an inside job, or that the DNC was a part of this, or this was some sort of... Here's what I think it is, Ryan. I think this was one deranged, mentally ill, radicalized individual who came from a very religious family, conservative religious family. Obviously, he knew how to use weapons. He was taught probably at a very young age. They were obsessed with their guns. And he's a lunatic, a 22-year-old lunatic. I hope he spends the rest of his life behind bars. If they want to give him the death penalty, I'm fine with that. Yep. But this had nothing to do with the left. Nothing. And they still want to blame it on the left.
From what it's looking like and all the information we have to date, it's definitely not looking like the left. And I've actually lived in Utah for about 8 months, which was about 7 months too long. And, I wish people understood what the Mormon culture and the politics in that whole state is like. It's like living in a different country in some ways. So in terms of this kid, I'm not going to use his name a whole lot. He's a shooter. He took somebody's father away over beliefs, and as you said, I have posted many videos of Charlie Kirk saying things like, we need sacrifices to maintain our rights.
Right. He said that. He said that.
And again, empathy is a woke word, or woke ideology, and all these things. So it's like it's so hard to go back and watch the rhetoric that he pushed on a daily basis and go, yeah, I feel sorry for that guy. It's like when Rush Limbaugh died. Did I feel bad? No. Honestly, I thought the world was a little bit of a better place after that.
So I felt that way after Rush Limbaugh. Obviously, the big difference is he died from disease,
cancer versus...
And this was a murder. But listen, Ryan, I agree with...
Fair.
Yeah, but I agree with everything you're saying. And I talked about Rush Limbaugh a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say anything nice about Charlie Kirk. I think he was a really bad guy. Was he a criminal? No. Did he kill anybody? No. But his rhetoric... his rhetoric... was very dangerous. Listen, he attacked everybody across the spectrum. He said disgusting things about even the last couple seconds of his life. He was talking
His
about
final words.
Yeah, his final words was talking about gang violence. Was it gang violence that killed him? No, it wasn't.
No.
I mean, that's the thing it's so ironic to me that in the last moments of his life, that's what he was talking about. Listen, if there's anything good, it's that he didn't suffer. It appears as though he was lights out. Yeah, lights out almost immediately. If you're going to go,
before he hit the floor.
Yeah, you want it to be fast. It's terrible that his wife and kids were there. I am not condoning, I know you would never either, Ryan, what took place. It's horrible for America. Forget about Charlie Kirk. It's terrible for America.
It's horrible for all of us.
Right. Political violence is terrible. But the fact of the matter that Trump is going to give this guy a medal is despicable. It's despicable.
And if I can, I just want to reiterate what you said in the beginning. As a veteran myself, it was really hard watching active duty military airmen like myself carrying Charlie Kirk's casket off of Air Force Two, knowing that that should never be happening, that many of our soldiers and politicians weren't afforded that type of honor, and that even it's just ridiculous. And it really cheapens the honor that we receive, that we fought for. Charlie Kirk never served this country. Charlie Kirk supported somebody who disparaged my brothers and sisters who gave everything for this country, gave their life for this country, gave years of their lives in the sandbox for this country. And to sit there and watch the military honor this dude in any way or be involved with him in any way, and then to see his family walking down like she's Jackie O, after the Kennedy, oh my God, it's so hard to watch.
Yeah, that was difficult to watch too. And, JD Vance there, I certainly agree with you. But Charlie Kirk, to me, and you could tell me if you disagree with this, in some ways, had a lot in common with this 22-year-old. Now, Charlie Kirk's not a murderer. Charlie Kirk never broke the law, but they were both raised by very Christian, in this case, Mormon, with the shooter families.
Yeah.
They love their guns. We all know that Charlie Kirk constantly would make excuse after excuse after a mass shooting after a mass shooting. They both seem to love their guns. They're both young white males. I will say with the shooter, he seemed to be aligned with Nick Fuentes. At least those are the rumors. And he also posted a lot on right-wing entities. We know that for sure. Listen, there's a lot of pictures that are being photoshopped. What we know is that he's in like some sort of Donald Trump costume for Halloween. But I think most importantly, while we want him to go to jail for the rest of his life or get the death penalty, which I would be fine with,
me too.
This was not the radical left. This was not a leftist. This was not Democrats. So. And I think that's important to note. And we won't see any of these right-wing idiots like Laura Loomer or any of these other morons like Eric Trump talking about transgenders 24/7. You won't hear them retract anything that they said. No. They so wanted this to be a transgender liberal Democrat with purple hair. Yep. That is not what this was. This was a 22-year-old young white male raised by a conservative Mormon family. That's what this is.
And people, go look at the folks who were saying, oh, they had transgender messages, scribed on the bullet casings. Go read up what they actually said. Go read up
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Yep. So let's talk about that because that's more misinformation. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so this is what I've learned in doing my own research on this. It hasn't been officially confirmed, but some gun experts suggesting the bullets may have been produced by Turan ammo. Such bullets are stamped with the manufacturer's mark TRN. And if such bullets were used by the shooter, allegedly, it's possible that an overeager bigot saw TRN and interpreted that as trans instead of Turin. So these are the facts that are being brought out by the investigation, by the report. And I did some research on this. It says TRN. It probably has nothing to do with trans. It has to do with the ammo company.
That would not surprise me at all, brother. At all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like something like take this. I don't know if I can say that word, so I'm not going to say it, but go read up what the bullet cases actually said. And again, it doesn't lead me to believe that this was a left-leaning, Democrat extremist. It's somebody, and let me ask you this, Brian, what sense would this make for us as Democrats? What's the gain here? Because from where I'm standing, this whole situation is a lose-lose for Democrats and our agenda, really. So it's like, what did we have to gain from this? And my second question is, if this guy was dressing up as Donald Trump, clearly grew up in an area that was very conservative, Mormon, what flipped in this guy to go after Charlie Kirk, who is pretty much, an ally of Trump's?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I do also find it timely and interesting that Charlie Kirk, this is one of the few things I agree with him on. And he just said this last week that he wanted the Epstein files to be released. I'm not saying that was a motive for the shooter. All I'm saying is I find that very, very interesting. And then Donald Trump is asked a little bit more, how are you holding up the loss of Charlie Kirk today? 2 seconds he talks about Charlie Kirk, and then he starts rambling about other stuff. It's just the whole situation is very
baseball game last night.
Yeah, very weird. You're talking about a baseball game, and supposedly this was your friend.
You're at the baseball game doing this, he
has no empathy. He's a sick person. But Charlie Kirk is the guy that said empathy is a bad thing. It's dangerous. Now, what normal human being would make a statement like that? What normal human being would get on a plane and be worried if their pilot is black? These are the things that Charlie Kirk stood for. Okay, misogyny, sexism, racism, transphobia. And guess what? The last few seconds of Charlie Kirk's life, that's what he was talking about. He was, talking about trans shootings, and he said too many instead of saying the appropriate thing, which would have been, listen, there are very few people that have been responsible for mass shootings that are trans people. It's more of a gun problem than a trans problem. But no, he downplayed that, and he attacking trans and gang violence. What does he mean by that when he talks about gang violence? Black violence. That's what he's talking about. So the last words out of his mouth were, in my opinion, with racial tones. I mean, that's who Charlie Kirk was in the last 5 seconds of his life.
I mean, that's who he was, period. That's why I struggle to, responding with some of these people. They're doxing the left. They have a website dedicated to us where they're doxing all of us, and sending people after our employers and whatnot. I mean, these people have lost their minds. And Charlie Kirk, look, the facts are he was a racist and a bigot. Like, there's more than enough videos and statements from this guy to support that claim. Yep. I'm not pulling it out of thin air. It's not a partisan statement. It's a fact. The guy defined racist and bigot. So to see the government using taxpayer dollars, and by the way, if Donald Trump comes out and says, "Oh, I'm paying for Charlie Kirk shit," just want to remind you that all the money he has been siphoned out of us, the taxpayers. So we're still paying for it one way or the other. I
heard a story, and again, I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard a story that Tiger Woods was donating some money. Which again, I can't confirm that or not. I've heard that from a few people. I don't know if that's true. I'm just amazed that anybody that would be a minority would do. Now, listen, if you care about his kids and his family, that makes sense to me. But Charlie Kirk is somebody that, for me at least, will always be remembered as a very hateful person who did a lot of bad. Now, if MAGA Republicans out there want to say, "Oh, he was this great person, he would have been the president one day," I hope he would have never been the president. But I listen, people out there could have different opinions on politics, but to me, this isn't about policy. To me, this was about hate.
Hate, human rights, so many of us say this, we can disagree on policy. If you don't think we should fund, public schools, I don't mind having that debate with you on why it's a bad idea to defund public schools. That's a political debate to me. Right. But when you start debating about a person's, validity based off of their skin color, or you start dismissing their accomplishments because they must have been a DEI student or higher, those aren't political issues. Those are social issues. And in that context, Charlie Kirk was one of the leading hateful people spreading the rhetoric and dividing America. His whole platform was literally about dividing America. And on top of that, he was going in and using the propaganda that he pushed in colleges and even in high schools. So what he was honestly doing for the conservative right wing was being their recruiter at the college and high school levels. Yep. Like, he was dangerous.
Yep, I agree. And again, I go back to saying what we both have been saying over the course of the last several days. He did not deserve this. This is horrible. I feel for his family.
Celebrating it.
Yeah, we're certainly not celebrating it in any way, shape, or form. I was very emotional the other day because not because I felt so horrible for Charlie Kirk so much as the circumstances of it, his family, everybody that was there. It was gruesome, and it's bad for America. And it was emotional to have to talk about that. And I was supposed to be debating Charlie Kirk in some sort of roundtable debate in December in Phoenix. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And listen, I'm tired of people, when a tragedy happens, blaming transgenders or blaming a political party. We need to talk
Before
about
we even know who it is.
Right. Let's talk about guns. Let's talk about how easy it must have been for this 22-year-old to get his hand on this weapon. Let's talk about guns getting in the hands of the wrong people. Let's try to save lives. I don't care what the color of their skin is. I don't care whether they're a Republican or a Democrat. MAGA Republicans refuse to do that. They refuse to do that. Have any of them even mentioned once, how did this 22-year-old get his hands on this gun? Clearly he was mentally deranged. No. The radical left. Blame the radical left. And I'm so tired of it. These MAGA Republicans, they have no solutions. None. Zero.
No, and then when you call for gun control, they get mad at you. Like, that's your solution? It's like, yeah.
Or you're
like,
making
do you have something better?
political. Yeah, you're making it political, even though for the last 3 or 4 days, all they've been doing is blaming the left for the shooting, not even knowing who the shooter was.
Exactly. So it's just kind of like, okay, there's no reasoning with these people. And unfortunately, exactly what a lot of us were worried about is what's happening, is that it is only making the divide between the sides even wider and deeper. And like you, I was actually live on my show with Marcus Flowers, and we were talking about it because 5 minutes before we went on is when everything started dropping. So we opened the show with it, and then we did an update, and about 40 minutes in, somebody sent me the video, and you can see my face.
Yeah.
As I watch the video, my face literally almost turns white.
And I mean, mine did too, Ryan.
And I say, like, I didn't mean to say it. It was my reaction, and I kind of forgot I was live for a second. And I literally watched the video for a second time, and I go, if this video is real, Charlie didn't make it.
Yeah, so that was my initial reaction too. The first time I saw the first Donald Trump assassination video, it was very strange to me. And then I saw him get right back up. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. But the first time I saw this video, I immediately said to myself, I would be shocked if he survived it. I mean, that, like that shot. Yeah.
None of us are really celebrating this. And I really will co-sign what you said. As horrible as this is, and it's unspeakable. At least the man didn't suffer.
It looked like he was out cold before he even was around. So yeah,
I said I'm interested. I don't know if they're going to do one because they flew him back here to Phoenix so quickly. But I was interested in the autopsy because I said I think it probably hit his spine and severed something, which is a good thing in that case.
That's what it appears. I've talked to some doctors who talk about when your shoulders go up like this and you clench like that. Usually that means it's a spinal cord.
It's like a football player. It reminded me of a football player got a head injury. He
so he was
instantly
before he hit the ground. He was unconscious.
Look, guys, it's terrible.
Yeah,
and I think before he kicks me off the show here, the one thing I want to leave you all with is this can be a tipping point for civil unrest, or it can become a call to action. And in my opinion, and I hope the right wing can hear this, if you guys want to truly honor Charlie Kirk and you want to really solidify his legacy in this country, then why don't you use his assassination, his murder, as the reason that we all get on the same fucking page? Because the same day that this was happening, there was another shooting at a school. So I'm tired of it, and we all need to do something about it. And if this isn't what brings us together, man, I don't know what's going to do it.
Ryan, I think that's really well said, my friend. And I agree with you 100%. Before I let you go, give out those social media platforms that you have. And of course, the 2 podcasts that you are presently doing at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, brother. So like I said, I do a great podcast with Marcus Flowers, who ran against Marjorie Taylor Greene in Georgia. He's still doing great things with a Hold the Line pack. And so we have a show called With All Due Respect on Wednesdays. And then I have my OG show, which is Hold the Mic with my good friend Ian Sherman. And so, yeah, please come to my YouTube channel. It's Ryan Shed, SHEAD. We're on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. Oh, and thank you to everybody. I just hit 100,000 on Instagram. So
Awesome.
Thank you to all of you for helping me get there. Greatly appreciate you.
Well, thank you for coming on, Ryan, as always, and congratulations on that. That's awesome. I don't even have an Instagram page, so I have to.
We got to fix that.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of things I have to fix with my life. That's just one of them. But
we'll get
Ryan,
there, brother. We'll get there.
And Ryan's going to be out here in Vegas real soon. So
Yes.
Ryan's going to to be co-hosting with me real soon. So
I
certainly,
can't wait, man. I can't
certainly
wait.
I look forward to that, Ryan, to actually meet you in person. That would be
I
fun. That'd be cool. All right. Well, Ryan, thanks. I hope you have a great weekend, my friend.
You
Stay
too,
safe
brother.
out there, and we'll
You
talk
too.
to you soon. Okay.
Everybody stay safe. Thanks.
All
man.
right. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate you. That's Ryan Shed, everybody. Good friend and really good left-wing podcaster. Does an excellent job. This has been a very trying and emotional week. Never have I really been on the air before live and had to cover what we had to cover here the other day. It was very difficult to do. But as I've been able to collect my thoughts, everything I've said the last couple of days, I stand by. I'm uncomfortable, and I disagree with anybody who is celebrating this death, who's calling Charlie Kirk a Nazi. What I said in my initial reaction a few days ago is the same that I feel right now, which is this was bad for the country. It is bad for the country. Charlie Kirk was a really bad guy, in my personal opinion. He stood for a lot of hatred and bigotry and misogyny. I still feel for his kids. I still feel for his family. I still feel for everybody that was there that day. I can't imagine how traumatizing that must have been. I mean, it was traumatizing for me just to see the video. Can you imagine if you were 10, 20, 30 feet away and you literally saw the last seconds of Charlie Kirk's life right before your eyes? That's very traumatic. So I feel for a lot of people in this situation, and this is bad for America, but that doesn't mean I'm going to show empathy for Charlie Kirk. He didn't deserve this. But as I've said before, and I say again, I'm not going to sit here because the guy was murdered and say he was a great guy, or do what Donald Trump is doing and give him some medal, or do what the far right is doing and praising him and what a wonderful person he was, because I know he wasn't. Just look at some of the things he said. This was the same guy, by the way, who said, hey, listen, if people die from gun violence, it's basically worth it as long as we protect our Second Amendment. This was the same guy who made statements like that after school shootings when a bunch of 8 and 9-year-old kids lose their life. This is the guy who made blatant racist statements, misogynistic statements constantly. And this was the guy who said empathy was a bad thing. Empathy was a dangerous thing. So why should I have empathy for someone who doesn't have empathy for others? He's not a martyr. He's definitely not a hero. And I'm not going to celebrate his life. His family can do that if they want to. I'm not going to do it. I wish his family the best. I wish that his kids could grow up with a father. I wish his wife could grow up with her husband. It's very sad. And I wish this situation never happened. But when I listen to these people on right-wing entities talk about what a wonderful guy Charlie Kirk was, I get sick to my stomach because he wasn't. It doesn't mean we should ever condone political violence. It doesn't mean that we should ever condone what took place. Political violence is never the answer because you disagree with someone. No matter how much you might dislike somebody, no matter how much you might dislike what somebody says, there is something in this country called freedom of speech. We all have it. Now, it doesn't mean that there shouldn't be consequences to some of the things you say, but certainly it should never result to violence or, in this case, murder. It's sickening. But I'm not going to sit here and say the flag should have been at half staff when after all these school shootings that happen, when a bunch of innocent 8 and 9-year-old kids get shot up in schools, Donald Trump doesn't do the same for them. But he does the same for Charlie Kirk. Does that make sense to you? It doesn't make sense to me. Destiny's going to be joining us on the show here in just a few. At least he's scheduled to. I will also open up the phone lines now before I take a break. The number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation is 702-221-7283. And again, that number, if you would like to be a part of the conversation, now's the time to chime in. That number is 702-221-7283. Again, that number is 702-221-7283. So we are going to take a quick break. We will come back with your phone calls, and we got Destiny scheduled to join us a little bit later this hour, and Nicole Mitchell is going to be joining us in studio coming up in hour number 2. Your call's next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday, obviously covering the breaking news that the shooter has been taken into custody. His father is the one that also turned him in. I mean, I know Kash Patel, they all want to, it's a great thing that he's in custody, but Kash Patel had absolutely nothing to do with it, and neither did Donald Trump's DOJ. So someone who's been very outspoken and vocal about Charlie Kirk over the years is the guy we have with us right now. And we're happy that he is here to join us. Always opinionated Destiny joining me right now on the program. Destiny, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on again, Destiny. So let me start with this. Your reaction to who this shooter is, not a Democrat, not a lefty lunatic, as Donald Trump would say, and all the people on the right have been saying for the last several days. It appears to me, 22-year-old, straight white male, not transgender, came from a Mormon conservative family. Your reaction to that?
I mean, I'm always interested where the shooters come from because I think it's important to track the ideology and everything online. That being said, I think it's important to keep in mind that for the right-leaning people, the fact of the matter is never relevant, right? Initially, this was a trans activist shooter who was drawing, I guess pink and blue trans arrows all over his bullets, and now it's shifted to where maybe he was Antifa. Who knows? For the people on the right, it doesn't matter because no matter what, they're never going to tell their side to tone it down anyway. But I think that I feel like I'm talking to screaming to the abyss at this point. Like the radicalization of everybody in online spaces and real life spaces is just getting ratcheted up more and more and more. And Trump is just pushing it further and further and further. And unless the Republicans are willing to actually say something about how everybody needs to calm down, it's just going to get worse and worse.
So do you agree with me, Destiny, that, listen, obviously this is a tragedy and we feel for Charlie Kirk's family and everybody that was there, obviously very traumatic. But with that being said, I would imagine you probably agree with me. Charlie Kirk was not a good guy. And I'm not saying he deserved this, and nobody should be celebrating this. But at the same time, giving this guy a medal, which it appears Donald Trump is going to do, he promoted hate, racism, misogyny, sexism, you name it. And he made money off of that, and he profited off of it. I'm not celebrating the life of Charlie Kirk.
So the United States is an interesting experiment because we have a democracy where we have people who are supposed to be able to coexist, even though we might have some pretty big disagreements amongst each other. I would agree that Charlie Kirk was not a great guy, but there are things that I feel like we should focus on more than being racist or hateful. As much as it might disgust me personally, I think that, being racist or being bigoted, I think these are bad things, but I don't know if they're fundamentally incompatible with the society that we have. People can have kind of abhorrent views sometimes about other people and you can still coexist. I think the thing that needs to be focused on more, and it's not as sexy to talk about, but it's this constant undermining of the functionality of our democracy. The horrible things that I would say Charlie Kirk and the Republicans do, or did, and are doing now, is the undermining of our system of justice. I was right before this listening to Trump talk about how he likes that China has speedy trials and the insane weaponization of the DOJ against so many different political opponents in this country. Like, this is the type of stuff that is not compatible with a liberal democracy. It's not just a free speech issue. These are people who are actively trying to subvert the things that make this country function. And I think that's the really horrible stuff that should be focused on. Not to say that I give him a pass on any of the other stuff, but yeah.
And Destiny, not to say that this is tops of the list here, but I do find it interesting and sad that, the flags are put at half mast, after Charlie Kirk is murdered, but yet after a school shooting in Minneapolis, for example, last week, when several children lose their lives, they don't go to that extent, and MAGA Republicans don't really want to talk about it. They want to say thoughts and prayers, but I see all these MAGA Republicans on television and on the radio and all that other stuff that are literally crying on the air. But yet when it comes to children getting shot and killed, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the assassination of the Minnesota lawmaker and then the shooting of the other one, I think that was insane. And to see Trump go so far that, he apparently is even flying his face at half mast right now in honor of Charlie Kirk's death. I think it's just absolutely insane, the different standards that both sides, or that they play against both sides here, depending on who gets killed.
Yeah, I just don't seem to understand it. And going back to, let's just use Nancy Mace as an example. She's a lunatic, but a couple days ago she said whoever is responsible for this should get the death penalty. And now, after finding out that this isn't a trans person, it's a 22-year-old straight white male, now she wants people to pray for him. Destiny, I also find that very interesting.
The worst comment that Nancy Mace made was, there was a journalist who actually asked her specifically about the Minnesota shooting, because she said, because immediately now we have the shooter now, and now everybody's going to be spending the next few days or a couple of weeks, digging through his online stuff to see who gets credit for owning the shooter or whatever. But before we even knew anything, right, following Trump's lead, Nancy Mace was literally saying the Democrats owned this shooting. We had no idea who it was. We still don't necessarily know 100% what the ideology is, but she was comfortable saying that yesterday on media. And then when a journalist asked her, well, does that mean that the Republicans own the shooting for the Minnesota senator? She became incredibly indignant and said that she didn't want to talk about it then. And I heard on NPR this happened, where another, I think, congressman was confronted by an NPR person saying as well, like, won't the Republicans say something? The Republicans never tell their side to turn it down, ever. They don't. You can't find this from any of the big lawmakers or from Trump himself. The only people who are saying it are being outcast from the party, like Massey right now.
So I want to ask you this, Destiny, because I think we all were obviously scared by what took place the other day, and I'm afraid of possible retribution. You're one of the biggest faces on the left, certainly one of the largest, most popular streamers around. Are you scared? Because you make a lot of public appearance. You do stuff in public. You did the Jubilee thing. You get yourself out there. Does this scare you after what just took place the other day? And have you said to yourself, man, this could happen to any one of us?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty frightening. I mean, it's a thing that you've always kind of contended with if you're in this space and you're going out to places. Like, there have been isolated shootings in the past. There have been influencers that have been killed by crazy stalker people. It feels really bad, I guess. But I mean, at this point, I don't expect the president of the United States to do anything responsible for his citizens. It's pretty bad to see the president ratchet up the rhetoric, and then to see people like Matt Walsh and the Daily Wire basically doing explicit calls for civil war or violence. Like, the next person that gets killed in this, whether it's right or left, I would place the blame squarely on their shoulders. Maybe they get off to stuff like that. I saw some tweet with 100,000 some likes where some guy was like, he typed like 20 paragraphs of stuff talking about how he's watching Charlie Kirk getting killed on repeat just to radicalize himself more and more. And it was like one of the most unhinged things I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty sad, but I mean, this is the road that we're on, and it takes two to turn the car around. Yeah,
you mentioned Matt Walsh, Destiny, who I just think is absolutely despicable. And you're right. He's literally inciting violence. And you said that on social media, and I agree with you on that. And there's the Steve Bannons of the world and others, and Alex Jones, who we shouldn't be surprised. This means war. We're going to war. Why? Because one 22-year-old lunatic, who, by the way, is not a Democrat, decided to do something horrible. And they're saying we're at war now. Why can't they just say, hey, let's all call out what the Democrats are saying? We need to all call out political violence. It's never the answer, but yet Republicans want to put the blame on the other side. And Destiny, it just drives me crazy where we're at right now as a country.
Yeah, and I would say I'm good at both sides. I just want to say both sides are acting immoral right now. Republicans need to call their side out, and Democrats need to stop. Elizabeth Warren had the only correct answer, and so did Mehdi Hassan. The Republicans need to tell people to stop. And to see the Democrats say it over and over again, I was just on Piers last year. I think I'm going on again Monday, and it's going to be the exact same conversation I had last year after the firefighter got shot. It's this cycle that we're locked in, this death spiral of bad thing happens. Every Democratic leader comes out and says, guys, we all need to calm down. All the Republicans are saying it's time for war. And then the cycle repeats over and over and over again. Go figure, the temperature's not being turned down at all. Donald Trump is still ratcheting up the insane rhetoric over and over and over again. 2 days before the shooting, he's posting pictures on Truth Social about going to war in Chicago. Every single thing about this administration is comically over the top, like glorifying violence. Whether we're talking about Kristi Noem taking videos in front of cages of people in El Salvador, whether we're talking about laughing that it's called Alligator Alcatraz, or celebrating the renaming of the DoD to the Department of War, or going from the president of No New Wars to celebrating our bombing of Iran. Like, whether you agree or disagree individually, I'm just saying that like every single thing about this administration, at every single point, they have taken the worst turn to make things more radical and more violent. And he is showing zero willingness to turn it around, even after one of the most important conservative figures just got assassinated. Like, right. Charlie Kirk was probably one of the larger, more influential conservative figures in the United States. And that's not enough to tell him, like, well, maybe we need to all kind of chill a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. I feel like the last time that really happened was after 9/11. And we just had the anniversary yesterday where Republicans and Democrats, at least for a few days, were able to come together. Not that I wouldn't use the term symbolic for this, Destiny, but I do find it interesting. As you know, in the last literally seconds of Charlie Kirk's life, he was asked about transgender shooters, and there were 5. And his response was, well, too many. And then he's asked about the total of mass shootings, and literally the last words out of Charlie Kirk's mouth were, are you talking about gang violence? Really meaning black on black crime. I don't hear anybody today in the MAGA world talking about white on white crime. That's what took place in Utah. It was white on white crime. But when I see these shootings, I don't like to focus on color of skin, but they do. And Charlie Kirk was literally talking about that, literally the last seconds of his life.
Yeah, I mean, having your last word be violence and then getting killed by a rifle at distance is by a guy who was raised religious is not. Yeah, I hope I'm not killed by a crazy StarCraft 2 player, I guess, if I'm not doing a public event. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's tragic. It's more tragic that the response from this administration and every single large conservative figure online and in the media is to just call for more violence and then to act shocked and bewildered every time it continues to happen.
Destiny, last question for you. And I haven't really gotten into this on the show yet. As you know, Kash Patel, Trump's DOJ, Kash Patel puts out a tweet. They say, we got a person of interest. We're questioning him. He's in custody. And then an hour later, oh, we let him go. We just interviewed him. As you know, they arrested the wrong person at that time. And then they hold a press conference, and Kash Patel's first words are, we got him. But in essence, they had no idea who this was, except a couple images. And the only reason why they got him was because this shooter's father turned him in. Uh-huh. So I don't understand the governor, by the way, making despicable. I wanted to ask you about that too. The governor, oh, well, we didn't have people in our state. I'm so proud of people in our state because we weren't, blowing up cars. And, he was referencing Black Lives Matter protests and all that stuff. That's basically what he was saying. And then you have Kash Patel trying to take credit for all this as if he did anything. He did nothing except screw this up and put out misinformation.
Yeah, and also it's important to recognize like where the violence comes from and how that functions as well, because like they don't have to go and blow up cars and everything. You have the president of the United States who is non-consensually deploying the National Guard and the military to states. Of course they're not going to riot. They don't need to. Like, Trump is literally on standby, ready to exercise whatever executive authority, legal or not, he can to enforce his will amongst the American people. So yeah.
Well, just quickly, obviously with the Un-F America tour, which now I'm a part of, and certainly you are, and, we were supposed to be going out there to Phoenix. And where do you think this Un-F America tour goes now? And what do you think Turning Point goes now? Do you think they continue and they say we're doing this in Charlie Kirk's legacy? Where does the Un-F America tour go? And Turning Point, do you think they continue?
For the Un-F America tour, you'd have to talk to the lead. I think Z is the lead organizer for that. Mm-hmm. I just along for the ride. In terms of Turning Point, I don't know what the rest of their leadership looks like. As time has gone on, and I've learned more history, watched more politics unfold in real time, I'm actually a bigger believer in individuals having a significant amount of sway over political systems, countries, people, organizations. I don't know if Turning Point carries on in the same way without Charlie. Maybe there are other people there that are able to step up, but Charlie was a really unique guy. I recommended everybody, and I still do, to watch his show with Gavin Newsom. That guy was incredibly smart. This was I think a high school grad, no college or college dropout, who like wandered into enemy territory that was considered written off and lost by every conservative, right? College campuses. And he turned it into a massive breeding ground for conservative ideology. Like, it's very impressive in terms of what he was able to accomplish politically. So I don't know if they have a person at Turning Point. Maybe it's large enough now. I'm sure it'll carry on to some extent with some support, but yeah, who knows? Who's to say?
We'll see. Destiny, please stay safe out there, my friend. And I always appreciate it when you take the time to do this show. We'll let you get back to your own live stream now, but I appreciate you coming on. Have a good weekend, okay?
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. That's Destiny, everybody. One of the largest streamers around. And I always appreciate it when he takes the time to join us as well. Yeah, I know myself, Destiny, and others with the UNF America Tour. We were supposed to be flying down to Phoenix in December to hopefully have a debate, run-in, whatever you would call it, with Charlie Kirk. Obviously, that's not going to happen now. All right, so for the next half an hour or so, I do want to take phone calls. I know there's a lot of people that have been waiting very patiently on hold. Nicole Mitchell is going to be joining us in hour number 2, and believe it or not, we're going to try to have a little bit of fun with what has been a very emotional and trying week, I think, for everybody in the media and for everybody that has been talking about this stuff. Emotions are very high, so we're going to try to have a little bit of fun later on. But let's get right to the phone calls here. Not that taking phone calls isn't fun. I love hearing from the loyal PTL listeners. Let's start off with Scott. Scott is first up on PTL. Hey, Scott, what's going on?
Wow, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Wow, it's such an honor and a privilege. I found you a few months ago. It's my first time calling.
Thank you.
I probably hate Donald Trump more than you.
That's a lot.
I was just thinking about the same thing with Charlie Kirk. Like, why are we like? I don't think Jimmy Carter got much of a half flag mast thing.
Right.
And I have a lot of rage towards him. I have a lot of rage towards. And every time I see a MAGA hat, it makes me mad. Every time I hear. And I have ADHD, so if I'm talking too much, let me know.
That's okay, you and me both. But I'll say that if David Duke was assassinated, which, by the way, I wouldn't condone.
Exactly.
I wouldn't condone that violence either. I don't condone any violence. But would we raise the flag at half mast and lower it at half mast if David Duke?
No.
I mean, that's what I think. That's who I think Charlie Kirk was. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say nice things about Charlie Kirk. He didn't deserve this to happen to him. I keep saying that over and over. I feel for his family. It's horrible for the country. But I am not going to sit here and shed tears for Charlie Kirk. He was a bad guy. He did not deserve this, but he was a bad guy.
Right. So I have a friend who tried to tell me what a nice guy Charlie Kirk was. So I tried to watch some of his videos on YouTube and not really impressed. What he did was like David Duke did. David Duke took the sheets off and then put a suit on, and he became normal.
Yeah. Right.
Part of my rage also is I'm on disability.
Mm-hmm.
I get Medicare. Medicaid helps pay for my Medicare. I get a little bit of food stamps. And I think Americans are just ignorant because Franklin Roosevelt was the president, Democrat, when we created Social Security.
I want you to keep those benefits, my friend. You sound like a really, Scott, you call back anytime. I appreciate you calling in. And I want you to be able to keep all those benefits and be able to take care of yourself. I want Americans like you. That's the one thing I will say about Charlie Kirk, even though I completely disagree with him on everything and I thought he was a despicable human being. He still was an American. And we do need to remember that. And this is a tragedy. And I feel for his family. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Andrew. Andrew is next up on PTL. Hi, Andrew.
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Good.
I have mixed emotions about what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Let me be frank, okay? I don't like the guy. I don't like his views.
I think that's very fair.
I don't like what he stands for.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I don't want death on him.
Right.
That doesn't mean
he has
every right to spew whatever he wants to spew.
We both can be
right?
correct. Two things could be correct at the same time. You could hate what Charlie Kirk stood for. You could say he was a terrible human being, but we can also say political violence is never the answer, and he didn't deserve that, and we feel for his family. We can two things could be correct.
100%. And what really bothers me, right? And I think what we need to go forward to is, why wasn't there more security at the event? He's an influencer. He's one of the
I'm going to be honest.
influencers.
Okay,
for,
so
you know what I'm saying?
I'm going to be honest with you. I understand why you would ask that question. We could say the same thing about the Trump rally, right? Why wasn't there better?
Mm-hmm.
But here's the bottom line, and I hate to say this. If somebody really wants you gone, they're probably going to get it done. And there are ways to do it, especially if you are 200 yards away with that type of weaponry. You would have to literally, even if the president was coming there, you'd have to check every building, every rooftop. And we know that they didn't do that. So it's right. I guess what I'm trying to say is it's very, very, very difficult to have that type of security everywhere you go. Does that make sense?
So that makes complete sense. But this is what scares me is now, where are we going to go from here? Are we going to see more political violence now on the left and the right?
I hope not. I hope not.
I mean, this is crazy. I feel like I'm living in the 1920s and the 1930s.
Yeah.
But I'm also feeling like I'm living in the 1960s.
I agree. Great phone call, my friend. I agree with you. I share that sentiment, and I'm very worried. Where do we go from here? Unfortunately, we have the worst president under these circumstances that is just dividing this country further and further, blaming the radical left when we know the left had absolutely nothing to do with what took place. By the way, even if it was, let's just say it was a flaming liberal, okay, for lack of a better term, still don't blame the left. You blame the individual that did it, just like I blame every individual on January 6th, okay? I don't blame all Republicans for people who beat police officers on January 6th. I blame those people who Donald Trump called hostages and patriots. All right, let's see here. Who are we going to do next? Let's go to Vivian. Vivian is next on PTL. Hello, Vivian.
Hi, Brian. How you?
Hey, doing okay.
Okay, I tried my best to listen to that news conference, but I was so disgusted with the Keystone Cops and the Emperor who has no clothes trying to say that they take all the credit for something when it was the guy's father who turned him in.
They didn't know who he was. They didn't have any tips that led him to his name. My understanding is they had no idea who they were looking at. They claimed they had some sort of footprint, but they did not have any DNA as far as I know. They did not have anything other than a few of those images, which were not enough. The only reason why he is in custody right now, father, I'm not going to listen. I don't know the circumstances of it, but at a minimum, I'll say this. The father certainly did the right thing when he found out that his son was responsible for this. I will give his father some credit, but we got to learn a little bit more about the family. But the only reason why he's in custody has nothing to do with the clueless Kash Patel and has everything to do with this guy's father turning him in.
Yes.
Yeah, let's be very clear on that. We got him. He said, Kash Patel wants to be the tough guy. We got him. And then you got that despicable governor of Utah. He is such a scumbag. He goes up there. He's like, well, in my state, there were no riots. And basically he's up there attacking black people. We know what he's doing. He's attacking the Black Lives Matter protest just without saying it because he's a racist pig like so many of these right-wing idiots. That's what he was doing up there. He was trying to in Utah, we didn't have those riots like those savages did. That's really what he was saying. And then that moron, Kash Patel, we got him. You didn't get anything, you douchebag. You didn't get anything, you idiot. You stare into space that Kash Patel has because he's clueless. He did nothing. The father is the one who is actually the one who we should give credit for turning in his son. That's the only person we should give credit for. That's my opinion, Vivian. Appreciate the call, Vivian. 702-221-7283, the number to call. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next on PTL. Hi, Joseph.
Yeah, hey, Brian.
Hey.
All right. Here's my piece. Hearing about all that stuff, hearing from the other callers about they don't like Charlie Kirk, I agree with them that I don't like Charlie Kirk and I hate everything he stood for. That's why he doesn't deserve to get a Medal of Freedom or whatever he's getting, whatever medal that Trump is going to give him, because all this guy is doing is, like you say, he's spreading political violence, and this is the price he pays.
Yeah, no, you're right. Listen, if they want to, give Charlie Kirk a golden Klan outfit, I guess they can do that, because that's how I feel about him. He didn't deserve this. It's a horrible tragedy, but Charlie Kirk was an absolute racist, bigoted fool. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you want to be a part of the conversation. Let's go to Ray. Ray is next up on PTL. Hey, Ray, what's going on, man?
A little food for thought and some history. Back around '08, there was a woman running as vice president, a very conservative Republican named Sarah Palin.
Yep.
She put a picture of a scope on the screen.
I remember.
Said, put him in the crosshairs.
I remember that. She is a despicable woman also, and costed John McCain the election, in my opinion. Sarah Palin is an imbecile, and I think she has an IQ very similar to Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're both very stupid people, ignorant, and hatred.
Well, her rhetoric may have got something going on the conservative side.
I think Donald Trump, I hear what you're saying, but I actually think Donald Trump has inflamed the hatred, the racism, the political violence. I mean, Donald Trump, when he was running for office first time around, if you remember, my friend, he was the one who was saying, I'd like you to beat the crap out of that guy. I'll pay your legal bills. I mean, this was the guy that was endorsing violence at his rallies. So should we be surprised that this stuff is going on now? Am I directly blaming Donald Trump for what took place in Utah with Charlie Kirk? No, but what I am saying is that Donald Trump is the last person that should be preaching to us about how we need to stop political violence. Let's go to Mark. Mark is next on PTL. Hi, Mark.
Hey, Brian, I just have one prediction and two comments real quick. My one prediction is, don't be shocked if Donald Trump decides to give the Kirk family millions of dollars like he did Babbitt.
It could happen, and neither of them deserve it, by the way. All due respect to Charlie Kirk's family. They did nothing wrong. The mother and the children, I feel for them, but I'm sorry. I don't think they're entitled to any money than anybody else that loses a loved one. And I think I agree with you. I think it's pathetic that Ashley Babbitt's family were paid money because of her despicable actions that costed her own life. At least with Charlie Kirk, he wasn't breaking the law. At least we could say that.
And that's the least you could say about him.
Yeah.
The other two things, Trump was planning on giving Charlie Kirk a military funeral, believe it or not.
Despicable.
And guess who the congressman blocked? Guess which congressman blocked that?
Who?
You will never guess it.
Who?
Tommy Tuberville.
Wow.
Tommy Tuberville blocked it. Amazingly.
I'm shocked.
Now my last comment, real quick, is odds were, when we found out that it was in Utah, odds were that it was a conservative Mormon Republican who did the shooting.
Right.
That was the odds.
Right.
Doesn't mean it was. That was the odds. And if you had any common sense, you would know that.
Right.
But this proves that MAGA, Trump, and all his minions don't care, because before it came out of who this guy is, they got their point across. And that's all they kept saying was it was Democrats, it's liberals, it's this, it's transgender, it's all this. But they got their message out. So it doesn't matter now if it wasn't.
No, I agree. I agree 100%. And I appreciate the call, Mark, as always. And we hope you have a good weekend. We will be getting to the YouTube Super Chat here in just a few, but I just want to take some more phone calls first, if I may. Let's go to Stu. Stu is next up on PTL. Hey, Stu, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I saw this comment in your chat, actually. And, you'd think somebody would invent a drone with a camera on it and, fly it over the scene, in Butler, Pennsylvania, or in Utah, just to make sure there's nobody on a rooftop,
Well,
it's like $200.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
But this wasn't the president of the United States. It was a very large, political influencer in Charlie Kirk. We can go back and say this should have been done, that would have been done. But I can tell you at thousands of Charlie Kirk events, if somebody wanted to take his life, they probably could have done it.
But there was no drone, though. There was no.
Well, listen, maybe that's something that they could look at for any large event in the future, especially an event where they're not checking if you have firearms on you or not. I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I think it's really difficult to say, well, should have done this, should have done that. The bottom line is, if an individual is willing to take his own life, and is willing to take somebody down with them, usually they can do it. Unfortunately, I wish that wasn't the case. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just think like this is such a low cost thing, Yeah.
Well, listen, I hear you. I hear why you would say that. And obviously we want more security at all of our events, especially when there's a lot of people. But, I look at the October 1 shooting here in Las Vegas. I mean, how do you prevent something like that from happening? I don't know the answer to it. When someone's shooting from across Las Vegas Boulevard in a hotel into concert goers, I mean, anything could happen anywhere at any time. But I understand you. Let's go to Artman. Artman is next up on PTL. Hello, Artman. What's going on?
Hey, man, Marvin Gaye's still singing about that. But I want to change just a little bit and make a statement kind of, do you agree with me that MAGA is kind of like the board? If you're not part of the collective, now you're my enemy.
Well, it's a
cult.
Now
I hear them.
It's a cult.
Yeah, and I hear them squealing, Charlie, 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 and nothing on our children that are dying every day. They have to go to school in fear that they might be butchered by somebody walking in with an AR-15.
Yep.
And then Micah squeals about, the Second Amendment. They were shooting muskets back then, not no 30-round AR-15 that's meant to damage and kill people.
Artman, here's what it comes down to. They want to do away with Martin Luther King Day. Donald Trump is the guy that got rid of the Martin Luther King statue in the Oval Office, and they want to bring in the Charlie Kirk statue. What does that say about MAGA Republicans? Martin Luther King Jr., who did more for anybody else when it came to the civil rights movement, what the hell has Charlie Kirk done for any movement other than hatred and bigotry? But they want a Charlie Kirk statue in the White House. I mean, it's just like, it makes me want to throw up. Let me tell you something, okay? And I know this might be too soon to say this, but I don't care. If they put a Charlie Kirk statue in that White House, the next Democrat that is president of the United States can throw it the hell out. Throw it the hell out. It's despicable.
I'd like for him to drill a little hole in it and blow the damn thing up.
Well, I'm not going to go there, my friend. I'm not going to. I understand why. I'm not going to go to that extent because I think that's taking it a little bit too far. But I think you get my point that I am making. Let's go to the MAGA destroyer, Darlene. We love having Darlene on the show. Hey, Darlene, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. I'm going to get to finish what you and I were talking about when we both found out on the phone.
Yep.
Anyway, Brian, I want everybody to hear what I'm saying, and I want y'all to understand why I was saying shame on you in the chat when we got disconnected. The reason I feel like I do, first of all, I lived in Orem, Utah in 1979 and 1980. I used to be LDS, but I since have left the church. Mm-hmm. But the reason that what upset me so bad, and I did cry over Charlie Kirk. I cried hard. I didn't cry because he was a wonderful man. We all know that he's not. I cried because I'm not talking about anybody else. I have empathy. And the reason I'm like this is because I have been in a bar before, sitting in a booth when this guy was being an idiot in the bar. All of a sudden, another guy pulled out a knife. He stabbed that guy right in front of me, and the guy fell in my lap. I had blood on me from this guy that had just got stabbed. Yeah. And then later on, he died. So I just want everybody to know, I wasn't saying, I'm a Charlie Kirk fan. I'm just saying because this is me. I want to have a heart and care about all people until they screw me.
I hear you, Darlene.
That's what I wanted to say, Brian.
No, I appreciate those sentiments, Darlene. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and take care of yourself. And I agree with what you just said. Let's go to a guy by the name of Fish Taco. I do like fish tacos. Hello, Fish Taco.
Hey, Brian, what's up? I just want to make a couple of quick points. Donald Trump could care less who gets killed if they're against him. And it doesn't matter if they're Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
I want to point out that he recently took Secret Service security off of Kamala Harris. That was his last person. He took it off of her. He has removed it from John Bolton and his aide, Brian Hooks, who both were threatened by Iran. He has taken it off of General Milley. He's taking it. He doesn't care. You think he cares if they get killed? He will celebrate it. He'll make fun of it. He doesn't care.
He didn't care. He didn't care when John McCain died. He didn't care when Powell died. He didn't even care when his own ex-wife died. In fact, he buried her on the first hole of his golf course so he could save money on his taxes. The only person that Donald Trump cares about is himself. He, just like Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, do not have empathy. They think empathy is a bad thing. They don't know what it's like to feel for somebody and to grieve for somebody and to truly care for somebody else other than yourself or maybe immediate members of your family. Yeah, I'm with you, my friend, 150%. Numchuck, if it's okay, I would like to go to some YouTube super chat comments, if you're able to do that, because there's a lot of people that have been chiming in. And again, some people are uncomfortable calling. And I want to give them the opportunity in the YouTube super chat. Fabian says, so they threaten HBCU, but he's a white guy from a Republican family who dressed as Trump for Halloween. Where's the apology? Well, you're not going to get any apologies. Chris, thank you for your support, who says, as a U.S. Army Operations Iraqi Freedom veteran, it sickens me to see Charlie Kirk being carried by service members. My own fellow service members that died for this country were not even afforded this much attention. Chris, that is such a good point. I am on your side 150%. That sickens me as well. The other disgusted veteran says, Malcolm X said, chickens coming home to roost. And Blue Eyed Media says, breaking news, ICE agent shot and killed a man in Franklin Park in Chicago after resisting arrest, dragging the agent to escape. That's absolutely horrible, Blue Eyed Media, but it doesn't surprise me. Shelley says, I feel terrible because it happened, but this has been talked about for days, and the school children that was shot has been forgotten. You are correct about that, and I have not forgotten about that, and that's why I keep bringing it up. Britzerker says, why do we have to pay for his casket to be flown anywhere in Air Force Two? I completely agree with you on that one. Terrence says, hey, Brian, love your show, but how you don't have a problem with Trump lowering the flag for him? What do you mean? How do I not have a problem with it? I've been with all due respect, I've mentioned that multiple times on this show. I do have a problem with it. I've said that today. I said that yesterday. I don't think the flag should have been taken down to half mast. I've said that. I've said, what about the children who died in the school shooting? Why doesn't he put the flag down for them? Terrence, I've said that over and over again. My guess is you just haven't heard me say it, but I'm sure people in the chat will agree with me. I've said that already, and I've talked about that. Fallen Empire says, I need you to define political violence because our entire system, our entire government is built on violence. What is a revolution? Well, maybe that's another show for another time. Immortal Suspect says, Kash Patel looks high as gas. You know, it is interesting. He did look a little bit high. His eyes were all over the place. Yeah, that was a little interesting today. Parrish V. Lewis says, we appreciate you, Brian, your honesty, your integrity, your passion, and your show. Keep up the good work. Parrish and Stephanie, Las Vegas locals. Well, I love my Las Vegas locals. And Parrish, that means a lot to me. One more towards the super chat goal. Thank you, Parrish. Thank you to you and your wife for your support. I appreciate you guys very, very much. All right, so here's what I want to do. There's a lot of people on hold. I promise you we will get to all your calls. I want to try to lighten things up a little bit because we can still talk about Charlie Kirk and we can still talk about how it's affecting you and what we can do as a country to feel safe and get better. But I want to lighten things up a little bit. The lady we have coming in studio next, she is a wonderful friend of mine. She's beautiful on the inside and out. She is a life coach. You've seen her on Dr. Phil. She's been on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. She joins us via stream every Friday, but now we have her in studio and she's going to try to give us some advice and how do we deal with this? Maybe a little bit of relationship advice if you're at odds with one another politically or family members. I will get into it with her. So how do you deal with something like this? Political violence. How do you deal with members of your family and friends? You're going at it head to head when it comes to politics, relationships. The beautiful Nicole Mitchell is going to be joining us in studio next, and we're kind of trying to lighten the mood a little bit because it's been a really emotional week. It's Friday. We will still take your calls on the other side, so please stay put. I know we have full phone lines right now. 702-221-7283. Nicole Mitchell next. It's Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
Las Vegas Broadcasting, LLC, KSN.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Friday. Obviously, it's been a very emotional week news-wise. There's a lot to take in on every network, on every show, and I've never done a show live on the air before where I had to deal with something like that. That was horrible to have to deal with, but we all have our stresses in life, and we all have our, whether it be in relationships, friendships, political stuff, where people are not talking to family members, and of course this Charlie Kirk thing, emotions are running very high right now. So every Friday we always have this lovely lady on the show, but it's such a pleasure to have her in studio. She is a life coach, an OnlyFans model, and somebody who came from the alt-Christian right as a former pastor. So I might talk to her a little bit about the shooter, because we're learning more information that his family, I think the shooter's father was a minister. The beautiful Nicole Mitchell joining us on the show. Nicole, it is so great to see you.
I'm so glad to be back in studio with you. I've missed this. So thank you for having me back in person.
Great to see you. And, all due respect to Numchuck and Leonard and all the men that come in here, I'd rather look at you. Anyway, it's nice to see you here. And Numchuck, instead of flipping me off today, he's actually, that's an understandable statement that he made. But, okay, so I want to just let's talk about this real quickly. Then we'll get to some calls and maybe people can ask you some advice. But
absolutely.
So the shooter in this Charlie Kirk thing, I didn't really want to talk to you a lot about this, but I do want to bring this up. He comes from a Mormon family. He's a 22-year-old straight white male, and his father is a former minister. They love their guns. His father's the one that actually turned him in. Do you think that if you, and I'm not trying to blame the family, but you feel like in some of these families, it's just built up frustration. And I don't know why he did what he did, but you came from that sort of background. Can you speak to that?
You know, it's interesting. I remember when I was in high school, I was struggling a lot with my mental health, and I was having thoughts of ending it. And I remember thinking as a teen, I am so glad my parents don't have a gun in this house because I would use it. And so I'm thinking that, and I wasn't an extremist. It was just an outlet. It was easy. It would be accessible. And I remember thinking, I'm so glad my parents don't have one. So I think about that. Like, we don't know what's going on that guy who did this, but the ease of access with which to grab a gun and do deadly harm, whether it's to yourself or to other people, should not be that easily accessible. That's what scares me, is it's so easy to grab and do something, and it shouldn't be that accessible.
It's interesting you say that, because you're basically saying that at one point in your life when you were younger, if you had easy access to guns, you could have taken your own life, or you wouldn't have taken somebody else's.
I would have done my own. Yes, I would not harm anyone else.
I'm so glad that didn't happen. And we don't know what this individual is going through mentally. Obviously, what he did was horrible. It's murder. Let's just call it for what it is. What advice do you give people that, because there's both sides of this, right? There's the side of who Charlie Kirk was. And I'm not here to say nice things about him. He didn't deserve what happened to him. It's terrible tragedy, but he was not a good person. And I'm not going to sit here and say he was. But there are two opposite sides to this. There are people that are celebrating his death, which I think is despicable. And then there are people on the other side that are blaming Democrats for what happened, which is also absurd. Like, what do you say to like those people? You're a life coach. Like, people get very angry, rightfully so. You shouldn't be celebrating this. You shouldn't be celebrating anybody getting murdered. But on the other side, stop blaming transgenders and brown people. You know what I mean? Like,
it's crazy too, because like it was a white straight religious dude who did the killing. So it's like, I just think people to remember, like you said, no one should be killed. We shouldn't be celebrating anyone's murder. I think both sides are devastated. I will say I'm on a very liberal Democratic side, and every single person I have followed has expressed grief over this senseless murder, while also not conflating that he was some hero. Like, so I think we have to be able to hold duality. We grieve the loss, but we don't need to go extreme and blame some group of people that it's not their fault. And we also need to turn him into a hero, because the politician was not a hero. So it's like, can we just be more evolved as human beings and be able to hold both things at the same time? We're sad that the senseless murder happened, and we don't need to go extreme with our statements.
And he was never even an elected official. He was just like a right-wing talking head for the Republican Party. How do you feel the fact that service members were carrying his casket into Air Force Two? Because I have a problem with that as well. How do you feel about that?
I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? It's like there's a double standard. That's part of why I left the right, is there's this double standard where we would accuse the other side of all these things, but then we would have a double standard where it's okay for us. And I didn't like that incongruence. I didn't like, we can do whatever we want, but attack you for doing anything that you want. So I wasn't surprised. I don't think it's maybe the right thing to do.
I
but
agree.
We can't pretend we're surprised.
So my goal, Nicole, last week when we were excited, and I am happy you're here, was we were going to do like an hour-long relationship advice. And then all this breaking news happened. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So maybe we can turn this into a positive, though. Maybe not necessarily relationship advice, but more of just advice on how to deal with something like this that has happened. And maybe you're divided with your family over issues, and how to deal with personal relationships, family relationships, marriages. There are people that do not talk to their fathers or mothers or sons or daughters because of politics.
I know.
So maybe people can call in and we can just take a deep breath and maybe just say, hey, you know, what can we do to help get our mind off this stuff this weekend, and maybe take some phone calls, and maybe people. Now, Nicole you've heard her advertisements on the show. She's a life coach. She certainly is helping me with relationship advice and a lot of other things. But But I would like people to call in, and obviously they want to talk about Charlie Kirk,
Yeah.
which is understandable. But maybe if you guys could also ask Nicole some questions on, how to deal with it, because she's very good, very
Yeah.
good. She's like my therapist. She's really good. And sometimes I need that. So what do you think?
I would love that. And so as people are going to call in, I do want to say this, because I think we have to be aware of our context, where we have the internet 24/7. We have access to news, global news 24/7. And it is our responsibility as humans to not consume it 24/7. Sometimes I remind myself that before we had the internet, we wouldn't know of most things that happen in the world. And so it's that duality of, can I absorb enough news to be aware, but not enough to where it shuts me down? And only you know that sweet spot of, okay, let's be aware. But as soon as it's starting to ruin my mood, and as soon as it makes me want to be vengeful or hateful or cut people out of my life, let's take a break and just focus on our lives apart from the internet.
Yeah, the day that Charlie Kirk was shot, that was a very long day for me, not just from the standpoint of just doing a lot of different shows, but I didn't stop working till like 11 p.m.
Yeah.
And I look at the clock, I'm like, oh my God, you have to be able
to unplug at some
Yeah.
point. You'll ruin your health and your mental well-being
Yeah.
if you. I mean, I get it; it's new and it's great, and especially it's your job.
Right.
For a lot of us, this isn't our job, but we kind of consume media like it is our job, and we have to have boundaries around how much we consume and have ways to get off. To remember that we have loved ones around us, we have a good life
Right.
going on, and not let things outside of us completely destroy our sense
Yeah.
of peace.
Good advice. All right, Nicole, why don't we open up the phone lines? Let's start off with Michelle. Michelle is first off this segment. Hey, Michelle, thanks for calling in. You're on here with Nicole. What's on your mind?
Hi, guys. I just called you yesterday. That was my first time calling you. And I do live in Utah. And Nicole, wonderful. You're a wonderful woman. And I totally relate to you at being raised with the church or a church. And I believe that somehow that was my only influence. So
yeah,
I get
So-
that. And yeah. So our job
Yeah.
is like, we all are raised in very certain circumstances and contexts.
yeah,
And I think once we learn the level.
I was raised.
Yep.
Yes, I was raised in an alcoholic environment, and so I thought, well, I don't have anybody to look to.
Yeah.
So I looked to the church, and I believe that I lost a lot of good memories, a lot of good times with my kids, because I thought I had to do this.
Can I ask you both the question? How does it make you both feel after a terrible tragedy like a school shooting, when you hear somebody on the far religious right just say thoughts and prayers? Literally, when kids were praying when they were shot in Minneapolis. How does that make both of you feel? Yeah.
That's exactly what I said to a coworker. Those children were in prayer
Yeah.
when they were shot.
Yeah.
It breaks my heart.
Yep.
It breaks my heart. It's not prayer
Yeah.
necessarily. It's basically common sense.
So
what
advice would you give to Michelle, Nicole? What would
Yeah.
you tell her?
I mean, I think at this point, when things are raw and real, I personally try not to engage with people who have different beliefs than me at this moment, because everyone's triggered. And when everyone's triggered, that conversation is going to go nowhere good. So I just pull in, I gather my people that I'm close to who get what I feel and stay close. And then when things calm down, that is when I might engage with someone who's differently than me. But what is interesting, Brian, is when Charlie Kirk was shot, the outrage the right had about that was more than the outrage they have about children being killed on a regular basis in the school shoot. That's what killed me, is like the outrage you feel towards this man is the outrage you should feel about all the children that are senselessly dying in our country because of.
And it
our
is
gun
interesting,
problem.
right after a school shooting, you'll see some of these Republicans go into the House chambers with these AR-15 pins. But after Charlie Kirk's death, we didn't see that. I find that to be
Right.
very,
Or
very
even how
interesting.
Charlie's even said that
Yeah.
children's death is just the consequence of that.
Consequence of the Second Amendment, right?
So-
Which is disgusting.
Disgusting. And yet people
Yeah.
are outraged about his death, but not
Yeah.
about the children. So
Such a
that
good point.
kills me.
Such a good point. Let's go to Kava. Kava is next up on PTL. Hi, Kava. What's going on?
Hi, Brian. Hi, Michelle. How are you doing today?
Nicole.
Hi, Kava.
Nicole. Sorry,
Yeah.
my bad.
That's okay.
So I have two questions.
Okay.
So number one, I am not from the U.S., but after seeing what happened to Charlie Kirk, and this isn't the first. Back home yesterday, my home country had another massacre, 4 people dead, and many others are injured. And how do we, because I can't wrap my mind around why we cannot have common sense gun control policies or something. It bothers me that this keeps on happening over and over and over. It's like a nonstop issue and nobody is doing.
Well, that's something I talk about a lot. I'll let Nicole answer to that. What are your thoughts on that, Nicole?
I'm like, welcome to America, where we prioritize guns over lives. Like, it's really the truth of it. And I think people are so obsessed with their freedom that even if it kills other people, because we're a country of freedom, we're not going to do anything about it. And it's not until it hits home, like Charlie Kirk being shot, that I think people on that side are like, oh, wait, maybe we need gun reform. But I don't have much hope for that because this country is obsessed with double standards. We want freedom, even if it costs you yours.
Nicole, in your family growing up, you said there were no guns in your household.
Correct. Thank God.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never had that conversation with my parents. We personally do not talk about politics because we have very opposite beliefs about politics, but they did not have guns and we did not grow up in environments that had guns. And it might have been, I mean, we were in the military, but we moved a lot. We lived in different countries. We lived in different states. And so I don't know if there was like an ease of packing that stuff up. I don't know. I'm so glad we did not have them though.
That's what saddens me so much about the situation is not enough people are talking about gun control. And in fact, the last few seconds of Charlie Kirk's life, he was talking about violence was the last word out of his mouth when he was talking about gang violence. And then he was asked about transgenders in mass shootings. And he said too many of them, it was just, to me, that's what Charlie Kirk stood for, attacking transgenders and attacking minorities. And in the last few seconds of his life, that's exactly what he was doing, which is unfortunate. But we should, you as a country, you would think we take a tragedy and try to turn it into a positive and try to make us all safer. Republicans just refuse to do that.
Yep. I was going to say, a lot of people are talking about gun reform. It's the left side talking about gun reform, and it's the right side that refuses to get on board with that.
Thank you, Pam, for your YouTube super chat contribution. We appreciate you. Let's go. Let's see, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Lou. Lou is next up on PTL. What's up, Lou?
Hey, what's up, Brian? How you doing? How you doing, Nicole?
Hi, Lou.
I was actually calling Brian. I called before Nicole got on. I wanted just to mention, because you mentioned earlier that we'll probably have the worst president to handle this kind of event, for what just happened. And this morning, I don't know if you saw it, but one thing that I heard was that they knew they already had the suspect last night, but they didn't want to announce it because they wanted to allow President Trump to announce it.
Trump announced it before the FBI did, which is absurd, by the way. Trump was the guy that announced Charlie Kirk was dead, too. First of all, he's not the one that should be announcing that to the American people.
Exactly, which is ridiculous. But the worst thing about it, like you said, this guy's the worst president. The worst thing about it is that he went on there and he looked like a sorority girl because he went on there and he was like happy that he was breaking news. And he told the Fox and Friends, he goes, "Here, I got some breaking, you guys are breaking news." And he said, like smiling. And the Fox and Friends people were like, I don't know if that's appropriate right now for this moment.
It's not appropriate. Of course it's not appropriate, but he's an imbecile. He should have gone on the air today and he should have said, "I've got some breaking news. I only put on 7 layers of orange makeup today." That's what he should have done. What an imbecile. First of all, that's not for him to do. That's not the president's job to do that. I don't know. It's just sickening to me. If you have any questions for Nicole Mitchell, too, by the way, questions, life questions, how to deal with stress, whether it be politics, what happened to Charlie Kirk, anything, Nicole is here to answer your questions.
Go ahead, say the number.
Go ahead.
And here's the thing, I very purposely did not watch the shooting of Charlie Kirk. I am the kind of person, when I see something, I never forget it, and it will replay. So this is just a reminder for those of you who are more sensitive like me. You're not a bad person for censoring what you watch. You're not a bad person for censoring what you consume. I've had people give me a hard time saying, you need to read more, watch more, you need to be up on it more, but I know my level and what is good for me and what will shut me down. And watching violent videos, and I know it's everywhere on social media, but as soon as I start seeing the beginning of a violent clip, I just get off.
And I watched it because I wanted to know if it was real.
Yeah.
And everything was happening at that moment. I haven't watched the video since. I've had some friends that were there that sent me some videos. And that's it. And I'll be honest with you, I wish I didn't see it. I've never seen anybody get executed like that. It's just awful. The only good thing that I've said about that is that he pretty much died instantly. I mean, he was out of it before he hit the ground. So if he felt any pain, it was only for a second or so. So that's the only good thing. It was quick. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Kim. Kim is next on PTL. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Nicole. It's Boo Boo in chat. I'm having a little bit of a problem dealing with this situation. So, Brian, I called you a couple of weeks ago when the shooting happened in the church. And I think you got a little angry with me because I had an empathy for the shooter. And Nicole, I'm having issues with both sides. I feel empathy for those victims in these situations, and I also feel empathy for those who are committing these acts. So to me, the access to guns is a big problem, as you had mentioned with your own situation, and I had that situation with my son. The access to a gun, he would have off himself a long time ago, but there are no guns. But
can I just say something real quick?
Words?
If I could just may, it's not that I was angry at you. I think that might be the wrong word. I was emotional because this was at a time where we learned that children had lost their lives. So we were all, all I will say is this. The first people I think about are the victims. The last people I think about are the people that committed these horrible crimes. I mean, that's just me. You have the right to pray or you know, and that's fine. But Nicole, I don't know how you feel about that.
I actually think it beautifully demonstrates your humanity.
Yeah.
Where you actually can, speaking of duality, that you can hold grief for obviously the victims, and you hold grief that someone would ever go to that level to harm other people. And I think we need more people like you who can admit, like, they're both victims. Obviously, the people who are killed are victims, but the person who did something is victim of something else to cause that kind of harm to other people. There's obviously something going on with them. They need to face consequences. They need to be held accountable 100%. But we also don't need to make them into monsters, because they're not just monsters. They are also human with feelings and experiences that led them to that moment. So I think you have a really beautiful gift of holding a very intense duality of empathy for all humans. And I would say most people can't do that.
Yeah.
And so I think that is a beautiful gift of yours. And if everyone doesn't get that, that's okay.
I appreciate your call, my dear. It's not anger. Anger is when you hear me call a MAGA supporter a right-wing buffoon or something like that.
But I will say, to add to that, there is a timing. I do think when there's a fresh incident, if you have empathy for both sides, I think that's actually really beautiful, but it's not the time to talk about that. I think it's the time to honor the victims who were shot and killed. And later down the road, we can talk about the nuance and the duality of having empathy for the killer. But I think talking about empathy for the killer in the moment of these lives being taken, I would not recommend that.
Nicole, maybe this is just who I am, but whether it's the shooter who murdered Charlie Kirk, whether it's the 9/11 terrorists, whether it's the terrorist in the Boston bombing, anybody who takes innocent people's lives, I hope they all burn in hell. And I'm not talking about a car accident where it's an accident. I'm talking about actual premeditated murder, which clearly this was. Anybody who kills people, I have no empathy for them. I just don't want to waste my time praying for them. Now, other people can do that. That's just who I am. I want to think about victims. I want to think about their families. I want to think about all the people that were impacted by this, not the shooter. You know, maybe members of their family, if they didn't do anything wrong, it's hard for them too, but I'm not thinking about them. I'm thinking about the actual real victim. That's just me.
Yeah. And I think even there's nuance. I think in the context that you're talking, that makes sense. But I think of like women who are domestically abused and raped by their husbands, and the women eventually kill their husband.
That's different.
That's what I'm saying. There's even nuance in murder, but with this kind of murder, what you're talking about, I understand it's more black and white.
Yeah.
And I think though that's a good point. Like, you're very wired in that way, and I think she's wired in that way. And I think there's actually pros and cons to both sides.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm very much that middle of the road person, but I obviously am a big voter for gun reform. It's long overdue in our country.
Yes, I agree with you. Kathy in the YouTube super chat says, I wonder if the parent of the child unalived by gun violence was brave enough to publicly show the graphic autopsy photos to Congress. You know, it's interesting because I get that question a lot about the, you know, that the children that are killed in school shootings, they should be made public to people so that people can see the damage that these guns do to people. I'm kind of up on the fence on that. I'm not so sure. That's very traumatic for people to see, but I would show them to the people that say that more guns make us safer. I'd be okay with showing them the pictures. All right, let's get back to the phone calls here. Let's go to Nick. Nick is next up on PTL. Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, how are you doing? Good. Hi, Miss Nicole. How are you?
I'm so good.
Well, listening to your show yesterday, Brian, was really interesting. I mean, I absolutely love your show. I started tuning in to it last year.
Thank you.
Before the election. And I turned several friends on to your style of debating. I won't even say debating. It's just burying these MAGA supporters.
Can you turn on? Can you do me a favor, sir? Can you turn on some of your friends that look like Nicole to my show?
Well, my wife's sitting here right now, so no, I can't.
That's okay. I digress. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But by the way, that's my daughter's name is Nicole, so it's a very beautiful name. Absolutely, well, a beautiful name. Yeah, your discussion yesterday very insightful and interesting, because the crux of most of your show was we can't be the ones to say tit for tat or say violence. I don't care, or I hate Charlie Kirk, or I'm glad he's dead. And I think very few of left-leaning progressive people think that. But on the other hand, you probably remember this caller that called in, and he was saying that Charlie Kirk was more like
Nazi.
Yes,
I didn't like that. I didn't like that language. Charlie Kirk was a terrible person, but
I understand the play that you had with him.
Yeah, listen, people could say what they want, but I just don't agree with that verbiage. That's all.
Well, the overarching thing is that when you jump in bed with people, violence begets violence. I don't even know who said that. I don't think Dr. King originated that saying, but it's true. Violence begets violence, and our movement and progressivism is so much more evolved and thoughtful than, these people are. I mean, they're fascist, they're violent, and I believe this. If I can get any point across to you, but more than anything else, I believe. Can you tell me one single issue they're right about? Immigration, they're wrong because they won't.
I have a few. We might disagree on this. Some people might be. There are a few topics where I actually do agree with Republicans on, and this dives into religion and everything else. I am for capital punishment. With DNA that we have right now, if you can prove that somebody is guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt, like a school shooter, or, for example, the Parkland school shooter, that person should not be alive. Okay, that's my personal opinion. I don't want somebody eating 3 meals a day and taxpayer dollars paying for somebody to be able to sleep at night and be able to listen to the radio or watch TV. I believe I just want them off the planet. That's just my personal opinion. I understand the other side of it. Not an eye for an eye. I understand that. But I do agree with Republicans on capital punishment, and I do agree that we need to be tougher on criminals. But that doesn't mean that we should call people patriots and hostages that beat police officers on January 6th, and we can't be selective about it. We have to be, for example, gun control. If you sell an illegal gun to somebody, that should be a mandatory prison sentence. If you are caught with an illegal gun, that should be a mandatory prison sentence. How long? I'll let other people decide. But I just think, we need to be tougher on crime. Republicans are not consistent on that. But I would also say that in regards to what I said earlier, I am for capital punishment. Nicole, I don't know if you are for capital punishment, but that's how I feel.
I'm a pacifist at heart. I'm a peace-loving person at the end of the day. And we live in a very racist, homophobic, biased country that targets and criminalizes people for being Black, brown, immigrant, poor. And so they rig systems of justice to turn innocent people into criminals and kill them, imprison them for life all the time. So that's why I don't believe in capital punishment, because innocent people would be killed all the time.
Yeah. Thank you for the call, sir. I got to get to some other callers, but a really good phone call, and I appreciate you very much. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. Hey, Dave, what's going on?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Dave.
Great show, Brian. Love your show.
Thank you.
Nicole, I'm struggling with trying, and I know in this country, there's different opinions and stuff, but I'm really trying to understand the right. And I'm seeing this stuff from Jesse Waters, Sean Hannity, Mark Levin. They're blaming Democrats for this.
3 douchebags.
I don't understand.
3 utter
I know,
douchebags
Brian,
you just named.
but-
I couldn't name 3 bigger douchebags than those 3 that you just named, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, but why? Is this clickbait? Is this for their shows?
Oh,
I
it
mean,
totally
they're
is.
Nicole knows a little bit about that.
I can
Go ahead,
speak to
Nicole.
this.
Yeah.
I thought of this. I'm like, this is exactly how it worked when it's part of the right. It was never logic. Logic was never the point. It was the clicks. It was inciting rage to get people to join their side and be more against the other, even when it doesn't make any sense. Like, that's what drove me crazy. Is a very like thoughtful, intelligent person. I'm like, wait. This makes no sense. And that was the whole point. If you make it make no sense, the bigger issue isn't ever addressed, such as gun control. We're going to focus on this group of people that don't have anything to do with it. And then everyone's distracted and the drama just keeps going.
I think there are 2 different types of media talk show hosts. There are talk show hosts like myself who don't say things just to get attention. I've never said anything on the air I don't truly believe. And then there's people like Sean Hannity and Mark Levin and even Joe Scarborough and others who I think are phony, who only do and say things maybe they don't even truly believe, but they only do it to make money. Those are the 2 different types of people. I'm a genuine person. When I go on the air, I'm going to give you my opinion. Some people might like it. Some people, I'm not here to make everybody happy, but you're always going to know where I stand on something. I'm never going to coddle somebody, and I'm not going to sit here and coddle Charlie Kirk. He was a very bad guy. He had a lot of hate inside of him. He was a bad guy.
My God.
He did not deserve to be murdered, but he was a really bad guy. And I'm not going to sit here and do a whole ceremony about Charlie Kirk. I will not do that. But yes, to answer what Nicole just said, and I agree with her, the Sean Hannitys of the world, as I like to call him, dad bod, the 4-foot-tall Mark Levin, who is disgusting inside and out. Who was the other guy you mentioned? I don't even remember. Who else did you mention?
Levin and Waters.
Mark Levin, are you a liberal? Are you a liberal? I can't stand that little pipsqueak. And Jesse Waters, the squealer who goes on Fox News and lies on the air every day. The problem that I have with those 3 and many others is they throw out propaganda and misinformation. By the way, they're anti-porn. And then these are the people that probably watch, more porn than anybody else on the
100%.
planet. And those are the same people that are
100%.
anti-porn, right?
Yep.
Like, it's just ridiculous. Thank you for the call, sir. It's a really good question.
It's all performative.
Yep.
It was all puppetry is what I found. It was just like all talking heads with no integrity. And that's a huge reason why I left.
Yeah, I don't blame you. You're doing pretty well for yourself now. All right, let's go to Will. Will is next. Hey, Will, what's up?
Hey, Brian. Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Will.
How are you?
Good.
I just wanted to make a point that I think that people are missing with, this whole Charlie Kirk thing is that, and Brian, please, correct me if I'm wrong or if you think that I'm not on the right track. It seems, the shooter, comes from a conservative white family from Utah.
Correct.
Even the bullets that they found that weren't used said catch fascists. The country is turning on this whole MAGA. I mean, the whole Epstein thing. People that are losing their farms, people that are getting laid off, people that are losing their businesses. I just don't want to miss the tide that's turning in this country. And obviously this is a big deal. I don't think that Charlie Kirk should have been murdered.
But you mentioned the Epstein files. You mentioned the Epstein files, and it's interesting you brought that up. MAGA Republicans want to talk about how bad drag queens are. MAGA Republicans want to talk about how guns make us safer. MAGA Republicans are the snowflakes, and if you disagree with them, they want you fired. MAGA Republicans are the people that want to take your health care away. MAGA Republicans want to take your Social Security away. MAGA Republicans want to ban books, and they think drag queens are more of a threat to children than guns. But what they all of a sudden don't want to talk about is the Epstein files. They don't want to talk about gun control, thoughts and prayers. They don't want to talk about how in this country, millions of people are going to lose their food stamps. Over 15 million people are going to lose their Medicaid, but they don't want to talk about stuff like that. They would rather talk about Cracker Barrel, right? They're more upset about the logo of Cracker Barrel than they are kids being shot in schools because they're all a bunch of nutcases and things that I can't say on the air. That's what they are, these people. They're sick. And I appreciate your call, my friend. I got to get to some other callers, but Cracker Barrel. They talk more about Cracker Barrel than gun control.
I saw that happen. It reminded me of my childhood. They care more about symbolic change than systemic change, substance change, actually doing anything that will actually make the country better. They'd rather focus on the distractions, and it drives me crazy. It drove me crazy then when I lived on the right side, and it drives me crazy now that I'm out of it.
They care more about what's between your legs than a gun that is pointed between your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm telling you, these people they're crazy. I've been to drag queen reading, by the way. It was fun. They treated me nice. I had a good time.
I learned more about consent in the first 5 minutes of my first drag show than I learned in all 20 plus years in my churches.
How about that? How about that?
And I don't think that was intentional. I think that churches intentionally teach young people growing up nothing about consent, which is how, like, we know so much sexual assault and harassment happens in churches.
Absolutely.
But in queer spaces, bodily autonomy and agency and consent is the number one thing they will speak on before you can watch the show.
Apparently, a lot of that happens if you hung out with Donald Trump, too, according to what the courts say. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff is next on PTL. What's up, Jeff?
Oh, hey, Brian and Nicole.
Hey, Jeff.
Thank you, Brian, for the list and defining who the shooter is. What I've learned is that the shooter's father was a sheriff.
Yeah.
And evidently he went to his minister after the son confessed to him, and then they turned him in. And I think all this trans on the bullet and Antifa was a smokescreen, to lead into a different direction than who the shooter was. And you know who else got that medal? Was Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah, which is another joke, by the way. You're absolutely right about that. Yep. Rush Limbaugh was another. You know what I've said about Rush Limbaugh, and I'll say it again. Cancer might have taken Rush Limbaugh, but Rush Limbaugh was a cancer to society. And I shed no tears for Rush Limbaugh, and I hope he's burning in hell. I'm sorry. That's just who I am. When it comes to bad people, Rush Limbaugh is a pig, and I hope he's burning in hell. But I'll tell you how I really feel on Monday. Let's go to Lori. Lori's next on PTL. What's up, Lori?
Hi, guys. Here's what we need to look at. We need to look at who profited from all this. Who made money? Zuckerberg and Elon. Who spoke it immediately after he got shot? Elon.
Yeah.
In the news. Yep. And FBI. It's the oligarchs that are trying to start the Civil War.
Well, They're
trying
people
to keep us divided and keep us at each other so they can just keep racking up the money and taking more power with it.
It's interesting you say that, because I have people that are MAGA Republicans that have said to me, Nicole, over the years, you should be happy that Donald Trump won because it's great for your show. And you know what my response to that is? That's like saying crime is great for police officers, otherwise they wouldn't have a job. And I also
I got one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just because Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they all give you the opportunity to say what you want. Ask yourself 2 questions. Can I and should I before you post it?
Yeah.
I love that.
I like
so
that
much.
too. I agree. By the way, for those of you that don't remember, I wanted to bring this up real quickly, a little moment of levity. Nicole Mitchell had a lot of people confused into thinking that she was Pam Bondi last time she was here. I don't know. Maybe we can get another Pam Bondi from Nicole next week or something.
Yes,
I don't know, but
we
that was,
should.
She played a very good Pam Bondi, I must say.
I'm so
By the
glad
way,
you brought this up.
you're the opposite of Pam Bondi. You're intelligent, you're well-spoken, and you're honest, and you're beautiful. And Pam Bondi doesn't have any of those qualities.
I'm so glad you brought this up, because we have to be smarter people. It is crazy how quick we are all, and I'm putting myself in the same boat, how we are all so quick to believe what we see and read on the internet. We cannot be so quick. We cannot be sheeple. We have to pause and is this really real? And do more research than scroll on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook and be like, that must be true because someone posted on the internet. So that's a challenge to us as everyday citizens and everyday consumers. Look into things. Don't believe the first thing you see. Don't believe the first thing you hear. When I saw how many people thought I was Pam Bondi, I was dying. I was like, it is so obvious I'm wearing a wig. I do not look like her.
People on social media were like, wow, great get, Brian. I can't believe you were able to get Pam Bondi in the studio.
So it's just like, people, let's please be smarter than we currently are.
I was like, when I have John DiDomenico on this show, who's Donald Trump, people actually really, I can't believe you called him president. They get angry at me. Anyway, speaking of Pam Bondi, let's go to somebody on the line named Pam. How about that?
Pam, welcome.
How about that? Pam, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, I was just thinking, I wonder if now that
Charlie Kirk's wife has been a victim of, murder through gun violence, whether she's going to change her mind about guns.
I'm so curious too. I am so curious.
You know what? I don't want to. It's really early, and I don't want to certainly make assumptions about his family, but in this case, I think I will. I would say there's about a 1% chance that that's going to happen.
And I agree.
About a 1% chance that's going to happen. I just don't see it. I don't see if none of these MAGA Republicans do it. Why would she? I just don't see that happening. I think she would say she would want to continue the message that Charlie Kirk was sending. Listen, all due respect to her and her kids, and it's a horrible tragedy, but Charlie Kirk's message was a message of hate. So that's the best way I could answer that. 702-221-7283.
But we can hope.
Yeah.
We can hope, because
Yes.
if not her, maybe the kids. I think that as a kid who was raised in a very conservative, controlling environment, and how I escaped from it, I think of kids. I'm like, may one of them have the eyes to see and the ears to hear that this can be prevented and there should be a better way, and they help create that new way.
It's interesting when MAGA Republicans, or maybe even his wife, would say, we want to keep going with his legacy and his message. Well, what was that then?
I know.
What's his legacy and what's his message? To an average, normal human being, his message was a message of hatred, of bigotry, of misogyny, of racism. What was his message? What's his legacy?
You know what kills me is, like, when I was raised in the right, this would happen, and what we would say is, that's not hatred and bigotry. That's just what the left side wants you to think. This is truth. He stands on God's truth. And the amount of people who just like nod their head without thinking. And I remember as a kid, I'd hear the hatred my side would spew, and then they'd call it love. And it never made sense in my head. And so, like, just for those of you who might be on the right side or know someone who is, and you feel that incongruence, that's a good thing. Hatred should not be seen as love. Spewing violence should not be seen as truth. Like, there's a very distinct difference, and don't get lulled into believing just because your side says it's love and truth that it is love and truth. It's not. It's hate and violence.
I agree. Very well said. Okay, we're going to go rapid fire here. Our phone lines are always full, like literally. They're always full, but we're going to do like 20 seconds per caller here. I'm sorry, guys, but I want to get you all in. Let's start
off your question quick.
Janet, go right ahead.
Hey, I'm in Florida. Yikes. But yeah, I like your show.
Thank
and 20 seconds isn't long. That's about all I can say. But man, this is some serious shit. You know, Trump will turn on the American people. I mean, over at Steve Bannon's war room, the people are ready to get their guns and go out shooting Democrats.
You're right. No, you're right.
Kidding.
And it's happened already. And by the way, I'm giving you 20 seconds. That's 7 seconds longer than Donald Trump lasted with Stormy Daniels. Let's go to D. D is next on PTL. What's up, D?
Yeah. So hi, Brian and Nicole. I loved your show.
Thank you.
Started listening to it a couple of weeks ago.
Thank you.
I just want to say I'm a black person. And I was really scared when they just went straight to black people and just blamed blacks. And I was just like, why? Where did this come from? And it made me really upset and sad. I have been scared for a long time, since like Inauguration Day. I wake up dizzy and scared. And
well, dear,
I
I'm
think
on
it's
your
gonna
side.
happen again.
Some of the most educated and most smartest women in society are black women.
Yep.
That is
Listen to
proven.
black women.
And 92 or 93% of black women did not vote for Donald Trump. My dear, I hope you call back when we have a little bit more time. I appreciate you. Let's go to Carol. Carol's next. Hi, Carol. Go ahead.
I just have a comment.
Sure.
I love it in that when I see on Facebook and that people are saying, oh, he's a godly man. We don't understand why he got killed. And then I had a little discussion with my sister, and she brought it up, and I just kind of, he was a godly man. I thought, okay, whatever.
I don't even
and
know what.
I dropped it because I didn't want to.
Yeah, you can't even
A
win.
godly man, like if there is a God out there, and I'd like to think there is one, I think the last person that person would want to look over and protect would be somebody like Charlie Kirk. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. I mean, it's crazy. All right, let's go to Jimmy. Jimmy's next. What's up, Jimmy?
Hey, what's going on? I'm back from El Salvador, and a quick, interesting thing today. So I'm running at UNLV. I'm doing my little jog, and just tell me if I'm wrong or not. I'm doing my own parade saying F Charlie Kirk, like really, really loud, and I've been saying that for a while. And the reminder that man was a racist before he died, so let's not celebrate this man. So anyway, I had the cops called on me, so I had a Karen moment, and I'm good, bro. I'm there on the campus almost every single day, dude. But I'm back. I'll call you at another time. 20 seconds, bro. I'm up.
Thank you. I appreciate that, sir. I love everybody. By the way, there are people on social media that think I'm a scumbag for saying what I just say. Okay. People can think that if they like, but I tend to think that God looks over good people. That if there is a God out there, God is not looking after people that are racist and bigots and misogynists. Idiots.
I think the God that these people believe in is actually matches them.
Yeah.
I believe these people who spew hatred and violence and racism and homophobia and transphobia believe in a God that also spew racism. Like, it's on brand. They're in alignment. I don't believe that's the God of love that they say it is. I believe it's a made up God in their head that believes whatever they say they want to believe. But I think the God they believe in is exactly the beliefs that they have. And it's really sad that that's what they would call God.
Yeah. And you're teaching me a little bit to don't put energy into people that don't put the same energy into you.
100%.
But doesn't it apply here?
Yeah.
Not even energy. It's like, why should I care about somebody that didn't care about others and didn't care about me? Now, I'm not saying he deserved this, because I've said over and over again, he didn't, and it's terrible, and I'm not celebrating it. But what I am also saying is he was no martyr and he was no hero. And I think two could be correct at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think, I'll wrap it up with this. Part of what drew me to the left side was the amount of empathy the left had for people that were different from them. And the right side I grew up in only had empathy for ourselves. And you see it even now in the situation. They only care about Charlie, even though he spewed violence and hatred and racism. And so I believe that's what part of what drew me to the left was the care for people who are different than themselves. And the right typically only cares for themselves.
What do you think are the chances are next time you come in here, you can do a little Pam Bondi?
I'm down. Let's trick more people on the internet.
I still have your wig. By
Perfect.
The way.
We'll use it.
Listen,
I'm here for it.
The best Pam Bondi impersonation, and this is tough for you to do, but it's just to be stupid and just answer every question stupid. That's the best Pam Bondi impersonation. Just be dumb. I mean, I hate to use the term dumb blonde because there's a lot of blondes that are very smart.
Obviously, yeah.
But in this case, it does ring true with Pam Bondi. That's all I'll say. I still have that wig, by the way.
I love it. I'm here for it anytime.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, it's so good to see you.
Thank you.
We're going to have some fun tonight and hang out this weekend.
This whole
party
weekend.
It up. And I need that, by the way. I need that.
A break from all this.
A break from all this. I hope everybody out there, by the way, has a really good weekend.
Go do something fun.
Yes.
Have fun.
We'll be back at it Monday, same time, same place. I believe Ron Filipkowski is going to be joining us on Monday. We're going to get Parker on the show next week. And Nicole, it was a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. PTL Nation. Please be safe out there. Support my YouTube page at PTL Radio Show, pushingthelimits.live. Thank you for all the YouTube donations, the super chats. I love you guys. Check out my website, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You are way too smart.
I just had
way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun.